It's early May 1945, the final days of the war. Captain Jack Lee and his men in the 23rd Tank Battalion, 12th Armored Division, are located in the town of Kufstein in the Austrian Tyrol. Suddenly, around a corner, a Kubelwagen appears. Inside are 2 Germans, but they're flying a white flag. The Americans immediately train their M3s at the startled Germans. Many Germans are surrendering as everyone knows the war is all but over, but that doesn't stop many of the SS who are fighting on to the bitter end. Forced out of the Kubelwagen at gunpoint, the decorated German major, Joseph Gangl, is forced to kneel and is searched. But he explains, incredibly, that he is also part of the Austrian resistance against the Nazis. He shows Lee a note written in English. The note explains that Castle Itter has been holding many French politicians and VIPs during the war, who were to be used as bargaining chips. Up to now, their lives have been in relative comfort, but with the war's end, the SS are on their way to terminate them, and the resistance are going to try and foil the murderous plot. A smiling Jack Lee, an adventure lover, sensed the weight of the moment. He rallied his men and told them they're going on a rescue mission. And so began one of the most incredible episodes of the war. The journey to Castle Itter isn't an easy one. They meet up with Gangl's men, German soldiers who are either resistance or think their best bet is to side with the Americans. Having to fight through several SS roadblocks and cross bridges that are too weak for all the tanks, the party that eventually arrives is just 1 Sherman tank, Lee's Besotten Jenny, 7 American personnel in total, and around a dozen Wehrmacht and resistance men loyal to Gangl. At the castle, they are met by the mainly French prisoners and an SS captain, Kurt Siegfried Schrader, who has brought his family to the castle and, surprisingly, has vowed to defend the French prisoners, even against the SS. The French VIPs, who are expecting a larger contingent of rescuers, were rather unimpressed with the somewhat underwhelming rescue force of 1 tank, a handful of Americans, and some German soldiers. Knowing many SS are on the way to assault the castle, the Americans, the Wehrmacht, and the SS captain form an unlikely alliance to defend the French VIPs. Many of the French are elderly politicians. Lee tells them to head to the Salle and hide with the women and children. But the belligerent Frenchmen said no and took up arms to form part of the defense force. Schrader told Lee that 2 PaK-40 anti-tank guns had been seen moving into position in the woods outside the castle by a group of Waffen-SS. Preparing the defences, Lee ordered that the Besotten Jenny be backed up towards the gatehouse, gun facing outwards. One of the 30 caliber machine guns was removed from Besotten Jenny and placed on the roof of the gatehouse. The 76mm gun was readied with high explosives. It was unlikely that they would be needed to fight against German armour, and explosive shells would work better against infantry in the assault. The friendly Germans wore a strip of dark cloth around their left arms to identify them in the coming battle. The defensive force took positions in various places around the castle. They all knew that if a large party of Waffen-SS assaulted Castle Itter, what the inevitable conclusion would be. If the battle went the wrong way before the reinforcements arrived, everyone was to retreat to the central keep and fight hand-to-hand, medieval style if necessary. Night falls and some of the men rest. Around 4 a.m. an exchange of fire occurs, but after return fire booming from Besotten Jenny's 50 caliber, it's silenced. Around 8 a.m. there's fire from the friendly Germans. One of Gangl's men has decided his loyalties are elsewhere and fled the castle into the nearby woods. This is a disaster. He would of course tell the SS exactly how many men were in the castle and where the weaknesses and defences were. Lee was also concerned that none of the friendly Germans had actually hit the deserter, which had him questioning the loyalty of his newfound allies. But there was no time to worry about that. Through binoculars, Lee saw the ominous sight of over 100 SS troops arriving in several trucks and melting into the forest to join the siege. Shortly after, an 88mm round slammed into the keep, swiftly followed by 20mm cannon, and the battle restarted. The windows of the castle were shot out, and chunks of masonry fell all around as the assault continued. Back in front of the gatehouse, a huge clang resounded, and Besotten Jenny lurched. The old girl was hit by an anti-tank round, and she was enveloped in fire. The crew escaped and got back inside the gatehouse, just in time before the Sherman's ammunition cooked off. The French VIPs, mainly older men, were calmly ignoring Lee's orders to take cover and decided that they too would join in the melee. Gathering behind the parapets, they covered the south side, enthusiastically firing all the time. One of the men, Paul Reynaud, was an ex-Prime Minister of France. He decided he was best positioned, getting in the thick of the fire with the Americans in the gatehouse. To the horror of the Americans and friendly Germans, he was being reckless and exposing himself. Unwilling to lose a French VIP in the battle, Gangel, the German major, saw the danger and jumped up and dashed towards the Frenchman. A sniper spotted the opportunity and took the shot. Lee watched as Gangel was fatally hit. The fire from the 88 intensified, and the SS started to press their advantage. One of the prisoners, Jean Barotra, was an ex-tennis player. An athletic man, he was known as the Bounding Basque. Courageously, he stepped forward and told Lee he would vault the wall and go and get reinforcements. Lee knew the danger and that the chances of success were negligible, but he agreed. Disguising himself as an Austrian peasant, Barotra vaulted over the wall and mounted into the forest, immediately stumbling upon 2 SS soldiers manning a machine gun. To the absolute astonishment of the SS soldiers, Barotra committed to his disguise and calmly waved, pretended to forage for food, and then relieved himself on a nearby tree. Waving goodbye to the dumbfounded SS, he carried on his way to get help. The battle raged on. A Waffen-SS soldier readied a Panzerfaust, and the entire SS assault force decided that this was the moment to push forward. Just as a Sherman, the Bosch Buster, rolled into view along with truckloads of American troops, and Barotra sporting an American uniform. The SS knew their mission to terminate the French VIPs was doomed and retreated back into the forest. Gangel was honored as a national hero for his role in the Austrian resistance after his death. Jack Lee was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. SS Captain Schrader, who had protected the prisoners and helped the defense, was imprisoned for 2 years, a somewhat lesser punishment than he would have otherwise received. The book The Last Battle by Stephen Harding accurately lays out the details of this incredible battle. We hope you like this story. Most of our viewers aren't yet subscribers. Please subscribe and help the channel. Thank you.